Hi, and welcome back. Frequency shifters are very creative devices, extremely suitable for experimental sound design. Today, we're having a closer look at Koszalin from Chaos Devices, a very flexible stereo frequency shifter with interesting internal feedback options. In this video, I will go over the functions and features of Koszalin, but I will mostly focus on a series of patch ideas and sound examples. If you'd like to support my video series, or you want to get access to the PDF sheets of the illustrations I use in this and my other videos, have a look at my Patreon. But now, let's dive right in. Koszalin is a powerful DSP-based stereo frequency shifter with very accurate and detailed control. There's a stereo input here, with a LED to keep an eye on the strength of the input signal. Of course, you can also feed the module a mono signal. The obvious big knob sets the amount of frequency shifting in Hertz. Center position is no shifting, and from there you can either shift up or down. The response of the knob is exponential in both ways, which gives very precise control in the subtle range. This makes it very easy to get a clean input signal out. The range of the knob is set with this little switch, multiplying the printed scale by either 1, 10 or 100 to a maximum of shifting up or down 5000 Hz. To modulate the amount of frequency shifting, there is an exponential FM input. This input is scaled to the setting made on the range switch. And there's a through zero linear FM input with its own attenuator for detailed control. Koszalin offers very interesting internal feedback options. You can control the amount of feedback with this knob and the CV input here. This switch on the top sets the internal feedback routing. Either the down or upshifted signal is used for feedback, or you can use a mixture of both. The temporal character of the feedback can be controlled with this knob, which comes with a CV input as well. At the bottom here, you find two pairs of stereo outputs. There's an up and down shifted pair, although I have to say that is slightly confusing. The upshifted pair matches with the plus and minus on the knob. So these outputs are shifted up, moving the knob clockwise, and down, moving counterclockwise. The downshifted version responds in the inverse way. So to be clear, both stereo pairs can be used for up and down shifting. But when one is up, the other is down, and the other way around, always creating unique outputs. You can use any of these stereo pairs when using stereo inputs or a combination of those, which can also turn a mono signal into a stereo sound. I'd like to give you a feeling for the basic sound and range of Koszalin with a few simple patches before diving into more specific examples. Here is a simple modular voice made with an oscillator, filter, sequencer, and an envelope modulating the filter. The result is going into the frequency shifter, and an up and down shifted version are used to create a stereo sound. A copy of the voice is sent to an outboard mixer as well, so you can hear both the dry and the wet sound. I'll tweak the shifting amount by hand. Because of the exponential control knob, you can create clean sounds or subtle effects and keep a melodic usable sound if you like. This also works for subtle modulation amounts. For example, when you send an LFO to the linear FM and use the attenuator. of course, you can also add lots of modulation. Here is a simple oscillator through a filter, creating a steady drone. The sound is passed through Koszalin, again creating a stereo output. A smooth random voltage through an attenuator is used to modulate the exponential FM, and an oscillator through a VCA is modulating the linear FM. A sine wave LFO is modulating the VCA, creating a waving amount of modulation. The clean signal is mixed into the result as well. The internal feedback options add a lot of sonic possibilities to the module. Here is a simple steady saw wave oscillator through Koszalin. One up and one down shifted output are used to create a stereo sound from a mono input. Let's tweak those feedback controls using the melodic setup we used before. Every time a shifted sound is fed back into the module, it is shifted again, creating interesting cascading effects. Here is a quick simple demo of that, just feeding the module white noise, creating an ever-descending tone. That effect can be brought out with some modulation. Frequency shifters are great for experimentation because they can work on a wide range of sounds for different purposes. Here are just a few examples. In this setup, a single oscillator is sent through a filter and then the frequency shifter, creating a mono signal. The sequencer is used to trigger an envelope and open the filter, creating a steady pulsating sound. The feedback on the shifter is cranked up and a slow LFO through an attenuator is used to modulate the density. Finally, the CV output of the sequencer is added to modulate the exponential FM, turning a steady sound in a dynamic patch. Frequency shifters are great for all sorts of techno sounds. Here you see the exact same setup with a pulsating input tone and a sequencer modulating the exponential FM input. This time though, a VCA is added at the end, and another oscillator is modulating the linear FM input with a subtle amount. The sequencer is also triggering a clock divider, and the division is used to trigger a kick and an envelope. The envelope is inverted and used to duck the VCA when the kick hits. Here is a variation of that patch. Instead of the sequencer, a regular clock is used to trigger the envelope modulating the filter as well as a clock divider. This time though, two slow clock divisions are mixed and sent to the linear FM input. This creates a modulation pattern with different shifted settings. But frequency shifters also work great to add subtle texture and detail to sounds. Here is an expansion of the setup we used at the start of the video, with a simple mono voice into Koszalin using both an up and down shifted output for a stereo sound. A copy of the clean signal is sent to an outboard mixer as well, and 3 unsynced LFOs are added to create motion and dimensional space around the sound. One attenuated LFO is modulating the exponential FM. Another attenuated LFO is modulating the feedback, and the third is modulating the density directly. A bit of reverb is added to the up and down shifted versions. Here's the exact same patch, only this time the sequencer's clock is very slow, and the envelope is said to have long attack and release times. So, just to be clear, apart from the slow envelope, there's no modulation in the voice. All motion and detail in the sound comes from the shifter. Drones are another great way to bring out the lovely textures and detail a frequency shifter can make. Here you see a single oscillator multiplied into 2 bandpass filters. A sine wave LFO is modulating one of the filters, and an inverted copy of that signal is used to modulate the other. This creates a stereo signal that is sent into Koszalin. This time, both the up and down shifted left outputs are sent to a mixer to create a master left output. And both the up and down shifted right signals are mixed to create the right signal. In some cases this can lead to phase cancellation, but in others to interesting sounds. To add some motion, an attenuated LFO is modulating the feedback, and an oscillator is modulating the linear FM. Another slow LFO is subtly modulating the frequency of the modulating oscillator. No dry signal is used in this patch. Just because Koszalin has interesting internal feedback options doesn't mean you shouldn't experiment with external feedback patches. For example, here you see a simple oscillator through filter setup creating a drone. The drone is sent to a mixer, a stereo reverb, and then the stereo frequency shifter. The reverb is set to full wet with quite long tails and a heavy pre-delay. The downshifted outputs of the shifter are sent back to the mixer, creating a feedback loop. The stereo upshifted outputs are sent to the outboard mixer as well as a copy of the clean signal. Here's a similar setup, only this time the reverb is replaced with a stereo delay. Also, instead of using both the up and down shifted outputs, only the upshifted pair is used. And that signal is multiplied and sent back into the mixer to create a feedback loop. I personally like making metallic drony synth sounds, but you should definitely experiment with feeding a frequency shifter other sounds as well. For example, here's a quick patch with a sample player playing a drum loop, triggered by a clock and divider. A slow clock division is triggering an inverted envelope, which is modulating the exponential FM. A steady oscillator is modulating the linear FM. And an LFO is modulating the density, creating subtle shifts. Different feedback settings will lead to different kind of sounds. In this patch, the sample player is used to play a selection of pre-recorded chords. A slow sequencer is triggering samples as well as selecting which sample is played. The audio is sent to the left input of Koszalin. The left down and right up shifted outputs are used as the main audio outs, but the other outputs are sent into a delay and then back into the right input of Koszalin. A copy of the trigger is firing off an envelope modulating the exponential FM. An oscillator through a VCA is modulating the linear FM, with an LFO modulating the depth. And finally, another LFO is modulating the density. Frequency shifters are great experimental sound design tools. These are just a few patches to get you started. If you have other good ideas, let me know about it in the comments section. And if you'd like to dive deeper in other modular patch ideas, you can browse through my videos in any of these playlists. Also, smash that like, subscribe and bell button if you want to see more modular content from me. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching and see you next time.